Hello everyone, welcome back again to my channel. Before watching this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's start this video. The role of fishermen in assisting maritime law enforcement agencies to prevent maritime security threats. Indonesia's sea's territorial comprises over two-thirds larger than the mainland. Indonesia's geographical position is strategically located at the cross point of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. In addition, this cross position provides a strategic route for world shipping, with every shipment from the west to east hemisphere and vice versa will sail through Indonesian sea territory. Please note that currently almost 90% of world trade is shipped by sea, and approximately 75% of its trade commodities are shipped through Indonesian maritime territory. This can be both opportunity or challenge depending on how Indonesia manages it. As a country that has ratified the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea in 1982 or UN Clause 1982, Indonesia can be categorized as an archipelagic country, a many-island state. As an archipelagic state, Indonesia needs to focus on its sea territorial to manage its maritime potential, since Indonesia has neglected the sea for decades and only focus on the development of land territory. However, since 2014, during the administration of President Joko Widodo, the maritime sector development has been re-established with the vision of the World Maritime Axis, as stipulates under the Presidential Regulation Number 16 of 2017 on the Indonesian Maritime Policy, a policy that oversees all development related to the maritime sector. It surely brings some new horizon, but as mentioned above, the maritime sector development can pose us both opportunities or challenges. It can be a great opportunity if the developments can have an impact for economic improvement in the community, while the challenge comes from the maritime security threats. According to Indonesian Chamber of Commerce, the project value of Indonesia's marine research 171 billion US dollars, equivalent to 1046 trillion, assuming the fishery sector contribute 380 trillion rupiahs, coastal sector contribute 617 trillion rupiahs, biotechnology sector contributes 480 trillion rupiahs, maritime tourism sector contributes 24 trillion rupiahs, the petroleum sector amounted 252 trillion rupiahs, and sea transportation amounts 240 trillion rupiah. Threats can be defined as a business or activity undertaken by a group of people to interfere the security by taking harmful action. The maritime security threats can be divided into traditional threats and non-traditional threats. In the context of maritime security in Southeast Asia, traditional threats are often interpreted as a sea boundary disputed issue that could lead to armed conflict or military at sea, while non-traditional threats of maritime security are threats from non-state actors or perpetrators rather than state institutions, like criminal groups operating at sea. Among others are piracy, ship hijacking, terrorism, drug smuggling, timber and illegal foods, human trafficking by sea, illegal fishing, and other crimes. As the proverbs say, sugar will attract the ants, which means that an economic turnaround will attract ill-willing people seeking for the opportunity to involve illegally. Therefore, Indonesia requires strong sea power to prevent these threats. Sea power is the ability of a state to control its sea territory for maintaining the state's sovereignty. Sea power also serves to prevent unwanted actors from exploiting the state's sea territory. The maritime sector development is strongly related with the role of maritime security as a way to establish a stable and sustainable development. Maritime security becomes inevitable to achieve maximum maritime development. Nowadays, studies on maritime security continue to grow rapidly since the increasingly high marine potentials, hence threats in maritime security is also increasingly evolved. Particularly, now that some developed countries like America, China, and Japan are focusing on the exploration of marine potential that often interfere with other countries' interests. Maritime security for the Maritime security from the perspective of marine economic development can be interpreted as a condition or circumstance in which all economic activities undertaken and related to the sea are free from all threats and dangers that can cause financial losses and costs and casualties and disrupt marine economic development. To establish the maritime security, a state requires sea power that is not only relying on the navy. Sea power also includes existing non-military aspect at sea, as long as this aspect can aid the naval tasks and encourage engagement of government and society. Currently, there are other terminology besides sea power, which is maritime power and naval power. In principle, these three terminologies are similar, but the domains are equally at sea. But considering the condition of the Indonesian Sea, there are some significant differences. Indonesia's sea power is a combination of maritime power and naval power because the sea power cannot be realized without the cooperation of maritime power, and naval power of Indonesia is the Indonesian National Army or TNI, Navy or AL. According to Ken Booth, the role of the Navy is divided into the role of the military to maintain the state sovereignty by performing the defense and prevention of sovereignty threat at sea, while the role of the constabulary is the use of naval power for law enforcement function at sea against the threats of crime and as a safeguard over marine resources. The last is diplomacy role that is implemented to support the government's foreign policy. Maritime power implementation in Indonesia involve every law enforcement institution in the sea, such as the Navy, such as Marine Police, Indonesian Sea and Coast Guard, Directorate General of Surveillance and Control of Marine and Fishery Resources, Customs and Excise, and Indonesia Maritime Security Agency. However, the maritime power practically cannot be separated from the support of private sectors involved in maritime industry and services. Maritime power has an important role to play during the peaceful period because the military warfare are no longer as threatening as it did during the World War. Instead, more threats are perpetuated by the non-state actors in robbery, piracy, smuggling of illegal goods, and so on. In accordance to the applicable regulation in Indonesia, particularly the 1945 National Constitution of Republic of Indonesia Second Amendment and Article 30, which explain that every Indonesian citizen is entitled and obligated to participate in the defense and security of the state, where citizen is assigned as the supporting component. In regards to the defense and maritime security, the fisher folk is the most relevant community to be engaged as supporting component for marine law enforcement agencies. According to Law No. 45 of 2009, fisherman is defined as an individual who makes his or her livelihood from fishing. Obviously, fishermen know more about the sea than the people living in the mainland. Okay everyone, that's all this article today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until the next one, bye bye.